Hello everyone. Today I am discussing on the topic triggers. So SQL is a structured query language and PLSQL is a procedural query language. Triggers are stored programs which are automatically executed or fired when some events occur. Then what do you mean by these events? For example, so when you want to select some programs in your computer, what you are going to do? You are going to select that program with the help of mouse by clicking. So then click is called as an event. When that event occurs, then your program is opened. Similarly, if you want to type something in a word, so then you are going to press the keys on the keyboard. So when you press the keyboard, then pressing is called as an event. When that event occurs, then the particular character will be displayed on the keyboard. So these are the different kinds of events which are normally used. And then what are the events that are supported in triggers? So the events that are supported in the triggers are data manipulation statements, that is delete, insert or update, data definition statement, that is create, alter and drop, and data operation, that is server error, log on, log off, startup and shutdown. So these are the different events that are supported the triggers. That means when these events executed, then the trigger is going to execute automatically. So then what are the benefits of using these triggers? So if you want to insert some data to a particular column automatically, so then we can create a trigger. By creating a triggers, when that trigger is executed automatically, the column will be inserted. And it also enforces referential integrity. Referential integrity means when you are going to connect the two tables, that means you are going to build a relationship between the two tables. So while inserting the data, the referential integrity should not be violated. So that is supported in our triggers. And also you can allow the user to log into a table, logging to a database and access the table. So that can also be made it in a triggers. And also it will allow only to use the tables by authorized user. That means you are going to create the user and you are giving a privilege to the user. So that authorized person can able to access the table with the help of triggers. And also the triggers prevent invalid transaction to the particular table. So now we'll see the syntax of a trigger. So create is a keyword. So whatever which is written in a square bracket, it is optional. So that is, you can use it this, or instead of that, without that also you can create a trigger. So create or replace trigger and then the trigger name. So that means if already the trigger is created and you are replacing with a new trigger, so then you have to use a replace keyword. Before, after, instead of, these are the thing, that is when the trigger has to be executed, that will decided by before, after and instead of keywords. Insert, update and delete, these are the events. That means when these events are executed, then the trigger is going to execute. And then on which column the trigger has to affect, so that is the column name. On which table the trigger has to execute, the table name. And if you are affecting the old values with the new values, so that you can take it as a variable and you can use it as a reference. For which each row means which are the rows are affected by the triggers, and on which condition the rows has to be affected, that you have to give. And then these are the PLSQL blocks, that is declaration statement, begin, that is what are the statement has to be executed, and then runtime exception handling are written in an exception block, and then end. So now we will see all these statements of the syntax in detail. So create or replace triggers name creates or replaces an existing trigger with a new trigger name. Before, after, instead of, this specify when the trigger will be executed. That means on which situation the trigger has to execute. And instead of keyword is used on a view of a table. Insert, update and delete are the DML statement, that is these are the events. Of column name, that is which column is going to update it, that is will decided by the column name. On which table the trigger is associated, on table name will be decided. Referencing old value and new value, this will allow you to refer a new value and old values for various DML statements such as insert and delete and update. And for each row, this specify a row level trigger, so that the row level trigger is one kind of trigger that we'll see in the next slide. So the trigger will be executed for each row being affected, otherwise the trigger will be executed just once on whole table. And when, that is on which condition the trigger is going to execute, that will decide on a when condition. So we will now discuss the type of triggers supported in SQL. So there are triggers is basically classified into three parameters, that is classification based on the timing, so that is before trigger and after trigger. So before trigger means, so before the event is going to execute, the trigger has to execute, that is a before trigger. After trigger means after executing the event, the trigger is going to execute, that comes in before and after. And classification based on the level means statement level trigger and row level trigger. Statement level trigger means, so once the trigger is executed, the record will be affected at once and all the records will be executed. So that means after executing a trigger, all the records in the table is affected. And row level trigger means a particular row in the table is executed. That means if you want to execute the trigger for 100 rows, so then the trigger will be executed 100 times. But in a statement level, if you want to execute 100 rows, the trigger will be executed only once. So that is the difference between statement level trigger and a row level trigger. So statement level trigger is going to affect a whole table, and row level trigger is going to affect a particular row in a table. And the classification based on the event, so that is DML events and the DDL events. So now we'll consider one example, so how the trigger is going to execute. So here we have a table called customer with the fields ID, name, age, address and salary. So these, and there are 6 records in a particular level, and we are going to perform row level triggers in this example. So first we'll create a trigger. So create or replace trigger, display salary changes, that is we are updating the salary of a customer. So and before, after or insert or delete update on customer, so that is before, delete or insert or update on customer table. So before, delete or insert or update these events on a customer table for each row. So that is whatever the rows there, so for each row it has to affect. And when the condition, that is ID should be greater than 0. So declare, so salary difference, because we are updating a salary, so already the values are there in a table for the salary column. So we are, after executing a trigger, what will be the change in the salary, so that we are going to check out in this. So for that purpose we are going to find out the difference between the salary, that is salary difference is equal to new salary minus old salary, and we are displaying all the values, old salary, new salary and the salary difference. Then end. So first we'll insert a record. So I am because already there are 6 records in the table, customer table, so I am inserting a 7th record. After executing this insert statement, the trigger is going to execute automatically. So after executing a trigger, this is the output you are going to obtain. Here the old salary value is empty, new salary value is 7,500 and salary difference is empty. So why this output is displayed? Because you are inserting a new record. So there is no old value available for the particular salary. So that's why there is no changes. Only the new salary will be displayed. Similarly, if you are doing an update command, So update event, in that update customer set salary is equal to salary plus 500 where id is equal to 2, that is customer id 2. I am updating the salary by giving an increment 500 to a particular customer. So here, so for that this id customer id 2, the old salary value is 1500, and then I am giving a 500 increment. So then the new salary is 2000 and the salary difference is 500. So after executing the update statement, this is the output. The trigger is executed automatically and this is the output we are obtaining. Old salary 1500, new salary 2000 and salary difference is 500. I hope you have understood this one. If you have any doubts, you can call me from morning 10 to evening 5. Stay at home and stay safe. Thank you.